8 if you're following me or us in our Bible study. If not, you just get to sit and listen and enjoy and have a great time. Is there a way that I can can't you share it? Can I share it on my page? Oh, never mind, I got it. Look at me go. I got it. Look at me go without Tyler Brassfield. Look at me go. Okay, there's one on here. I can't see who it is. Is it me? Is that me?
Yeah, it was you.
I guess it was me that popped on there.
There's a way to boost your numbers.
Yeah.
I'll watch myself.
Now you get on and watch me.
I'm not old.
There's Tim. Hi, Tim. All right. Oh, we have a few popping on here. Good evening, good evening. It's really quiet here, and a lot of that is because kids, I guess, have got worn out today. My kids got on the trampoline earlier, and we did the sprinkler thing. That seems like about the cheapest thing, cheapest form of entertainment where they feel like that they've gone to a water park and everything. And so I think they kind of got worn out. Even Brooklyn had said, I think I need to take a nap. I was like, oh my, that hasn't happened in a very, very long time. All right. Looks like my father-in-law just closed his activity readings for the day. I'm going to give him a jackpot. Encourage him. I'm going to give it just a minute or two before we get started. Like I said, we're on lesson 8. If you're just joining us to get encouragement, welcome. Really glad that you're here. Initially, whenever I've been doing this study, this has been for ladies' Bible class, but really it's not just for ladies, it's for anybody, especially during this time where we're in quarantine and there's a lot of unknowns. Hi, Tina. That this is just a really great study for everybody. So men and women alike are encouraged to attend. Yes, even Tyler can attend. He gets to attend whether he likes it or not. No, don't be weird. And
I only know weird.
Whatever. Hey, Samantha. Latasha, hey girl. You go way back. That's like Paducah days, right? It's been a minute. All right. So excited that all of y'all are here. It is a beautiful Thursday. A little bit windy, but wasn't too bad. Lots and lots of blessings and wonderful things to think about. And I've just been, I know I probably say this every week, but I get so encouraged by this study every time. And it seems like there's something that comes about and something that kind of gets revealed to me in a new, different way. And I really hope and pray that that whatever we're talking about and studying about tonight, that the Lord is going to be able to speak to you through me and everything. And so I'm really excited to get started with our study tonight. Before we do, I'm going to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all of our many blessings. Thank you so much for giving us the ability to deliver your word online and in new and different ways. Thank you so much for the people that are here, that are watching and listening, that they be able to hear your word and understand it maybe in a new way and just get encouraged. And thank you so much for just everything you've given to us. We're so thankful. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, Shirley Eagle. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have the Overcoming Worry book, we are going to be starting on page 65. And so if you're not, that's okay. You still get to join us and join in all the fun, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I encourage you that at any point in time, if you want to post something that would be beneficial for everybody else to hear, or just, a comment in general, I encourage that. I love that. It's really, don't get me wrong, I love doing this, and it's a huge blessing to me, but there's sometimes that I'm like, I bet people are like, okay, you stop talking and let other people talk. And whenever you comment, that's you getting to talk instead of just me. And so I greatly encourage that. So let's go ahead and get started. And just a little teaser that at the end, I'm going to have a challenge for everybody. So make sure that you stay tuned in. Hey, Brittany! Oh, so good to see you. I mean, not see you, but I know your presence is there. That's my daughter's first grade teacher from last year. Yay, and a really good friend of mine. All right, so I got sidetracked. Okay, so the theme today is determined to trust. And I really do feel like, hey, Sherry, have fun. I really do feel like this is it's a wonderful topic because determined. There are times where the world's going to come at us and we're going to have to be determined and focused on what God is wanting us to do. There's going to be so many things coming our way, but we have got to have the determination to seek God and let Him have control rather than the world and everything around us. So the decisive, or what I call the second conversion from mistrust to trust, a conversion that must be renewed daily, is the moment of sovereign deliverance from the warehouse of worry. Aw, yay, Claire Bear, yay. Hi, Barbara. That's really neat that, you talk about being renewed daily, that we really do need to be renewed daily because I don't know about y'all, but lots of squirrels kind of come around. My sister always gives me a hard time about I'm very, very random and I can get easily distracted, and she's always doing this because it comes out of nowhere, comes out of the air. Anyways, and so I can definitely relate to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on into the story. A story is told of a man who decided to pick one day of the week on which to do all of his worrying. Sounds good, right? After some consideration, he selected Wednesday as the perfect day on which to focus all his concern. Throughout the week, whenever anything popped up and caused him to fret, worry, or experience any form of anxiety, he simply wrote down the concern and placed it in his worry box. Once he inserted the note in the small wooden box, he determined not to think about the issue until the next Wednesday. He soon noticed a pattern. Whenever Wednesday arrived, he would sort through the scraps of paper and various entries only to discover that the vast majority of the things that bothered him in the previous 6 days were already settled. Worrying about them wouldn't have made the slightest difference. Who saw that coming? Most of us would discover the same thing to be true about our own worries. If we simply stopped worrying about a particular issue, we'd find a week later that it had gone away entirely. But all too often we end up fertilizing the soil around a small concern by focusing on what could go wrong. In my book, I went ahead and underlined could go wrong. At the beginning of the study, I think it was our first one, I think that probably a lot of ladies in our church were maybe a little more concerned about me, or they related with me. I don't know. It could have been either way, but we talked about what could have happened, where our brain goes to in the worst case scenario. And I had a really wicked worst case scenario, and everything, but it's because our minds can go to the worst case, what could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen, and it really does no good for any of us, for sure. Soon that concern sprouts into a worry, which multiplies branches, leaves us feeling anxious. The resulting angst that we feel undermines our faith and beckons us to give up and live defeated before the battle has ever begun. The Bible tells us faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's in Hebrews 11:1. Yet all worry and anxiety want to do is eat away at our confidence and steal any sense of assurance we may have. Rather than put our faith in God, and I underlined this if you are following me in the book, worry asks us to place our faith in uncertainty and to trust what might go wrong. I underlined that because there's so many times I've worried about things and I've never kind of put that into perspective that, worry asks us to place our faith in uncertainty and what might go wrong. That really doesn't do anything for us, for sure. Hey, Mr. Moneymaker. Okay, but we have a choice. We can determine to trust. Faith asks us to hand the worries of this life to God and trust Him with them entirely. So that doesn't mean a little bit. Give it over a little bit. You're supposed to be giving everything over, all the entirety of all of the control that you may have, and you want to give it over to God. One of the ways that we can do that is through prayer. Did I miss it? No, I didn't. Okay. One of the ways we can do that is through prayer. And, prayer, what we learn is our relationship with God. That's how we communicate directly to God. And I think that people kind of assume that we pray like you have to always bow your head and Heavenly Father. And, there are times that, if I ever go through something that I'm really struggling with and I'm really needing strength right then and there, I may get quiet. And that's probably the little prayer that I'm saying right there, because it doesn't have to be a full, drawn out prayer and everything. It's just something, if you need God in that moment, that's whenever you can just tell Him, hey, I need your help and I can't control this or whatever it is. And that's definitely something that you can do. Faith asks us to hand the worries of this life over to God and trust Him entirely. Like the man who recorded his worries, we too can choose to write down our concerns, but instead of simply placing them in a box, we can hand them over to God through petitions and praise. We can ask God to intervene in our concerns, both small and large. We can ask for God's protection, provision, and presence. Whether we choose to place them in a box or simply record them in a journal, this simple act is a powerful one, because in the process we determine to trust in God. And when we do, we choose faith over fear and ground ourselves in the truth of who God is and all He can do. I had underlined that last sentence. We choose faith over fear, ground ourselves in the truth of who God is and all that He can do. And I had underlined journal. Now, of course, I don't really journal my worries, but I do, since I was little, I really liked journaling. I liked writing, and I still do that. It's kind of how I get things out. Not only that, one of these days that if I'm gone, maybe, my kids can read it, and I don't know, it may be a glimpse into me that they may not want to see. But anyways, I think that it's always an encouragement to me to be able to kind of get my thoughts out. And sometimes I do prayers. Sometimes there's things that I may be concerned about or just joyful times that I want to journal. So I don't know, if you do like writing, that would definitely be something good to do. Hey, Jake. So let's go ahead and go to number 1. If you're following me with the book, you're in 67. If you're not, you're just trucking right along with me. All right. How do you think your life would change if you started a worry box and selected a day of the week to review your worries? I kind of laughed at this one. And then it says, what do you think you would discover? So what I had said is I would worry about finding the paper that I need to put into the worry box. Where's my worry box? Am I going to have a worry box at school? Do you see how my mind goes on and on and on? And I think that I would discover that it causes me more harm than good, and it might cause my mind to kind of wander and be consumed with worry rather than having that full faith and trust in God. I believe that if I'm able to, do those little prayers, maybe if I want to write down a thought or two, but just the idea of me keeping a worry box doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Hey, Chrissy, all the way from Ohio, I'm guessing. All right. What are 3 things that you worried about last week that are no consequence for you this week? So these questions are always like, I'm like, people are really going to get to know me. I mean, that's cool. I really am an open book. I mean, if anybody knows me, you can ask me anything, and I really am okay with it. But I know some of y'all are probably like, oh, here we go again. So the 3 things that I went ahead and I try my best whenever I do these studies, that because it is online and it's only me, that you can hear verbally talking. I try to be an open book, and I try to be really, really honest. So I hope that you can appreciate that. So 3 things that I worried about in the past week that no consequence. I didn't even, and I don't necessarily think that I worried about it. Honestly, I have really been trying hard to, if I really am, concerned about something, I give it to God. And everything, and feel like that I can really put my full faith in and trust in Him. But one of the things, these are going to be 3 broad things that I worried about. So anyways, hey Krista, sweet girl, whenever we were going to have an Easter egg hunt, because I knew the weather was going to be bad, I was like, oh, my babies are going to be cold and anyways, so that was one of the things. And did I need to worry about it? No, but anyways. Also, one of the concerns that I had was about this class. I was really prayerful, because I really do try to be prayerful and hope that, the study that I'm doing and how I'm presenting it to you is joyful and encouraging and exactly what God's wanting me to say and everything. And what was crazy, I think it was only about 5 minutes later that I think I got 3 sweet ladies to message me and tell me, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for doing this. And I don't tell you that to give me a pat on my back. I'm just saying that, something that I was concerned about and worried about, God took care of that, because He sent 3 people, not 1, but 3 people to encourage me. And it was an encouragement for me to keep going, and a sign that God's still wanting me to work and do this and everything. And my last one was kind of just various questions about my job. When are they going to let us sign our contracts? Am I going to have a job? Surely they're going to want me to teach kindergarten, right? So just a lot of things that, it wasn't really like worries, honestly. I knew that my questions were going to be answered and everything. I just didn't know when. And so I believe that was a few days ago that our superintendent answered all those questions and everything. So it was great, and those were things that I worried about last week. And I really didn't, like I said, worry about them a lot, and it didn't take up a whole lot of my time, but it was definitely things that were on my mind and everything. Hi, Kenita. In Psalms 34, an acrostic psalm, where each verse begins with each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, was written during the story of David in 1 Samuel 21, 10 through 15. David, in fear of his life, pretended to be insane to free himself from the Philistines. In the midst of worry and fear, David chose to trust God, as we read in Psalms 34. Could you imagine, trying to be insane to try to get out of something? People may think that I may do that on a regular basis, but I don't. Just kidding. Okay, so on number 3, it was talking about reading Psalms 34. If you want to turn with me, it's Psalms 34, verses 4 through 6. So Psalms, here we are. Psalms 34, verse 4 through 6. And I'll go ahead and read that. I sought the Lord, and He answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look on Him are radiant, and their fears shall never be ashamed. The poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of his troubles. All right, so a lot of you probably know this and everything. Oh, hi, Michelle and Taylor. Sweet Tay-Tay, I love her. You probably recognize this, especially with our congregation. It's been a while, but Southwest Church of Christ came and taught us that particular song that I sought the Lord and He answered me. That one, I don't know, really, I love that song. When they taught us that song, I thought that was such a beautiful song and everything. So I hope that you heard that and we're able to get there from that. I don't know, it's such a great song. So it says, what did David choose to do when he was faced with worry? And of course, he chose to seek the Lord. He chose to pray. And I put here, magnify the Lord, and that's the title of this song. Magnify the Lord with me. That was in those verses. Hope everybody can still see me. Okay. It seems we always have to relearn to trust. Oh, sorry. Y'all need to hear the other question. Why do you think we must learn and relearn to trust in God as we grow in faith? And I'm pretty sure y'all agree with me where it seems we always have to relearn to trust in God because the world gets in our way. It distracts us. Our jobs, health, quarantine, death, COVID-19, friends, family. All these things can get in our way and we forget what our goal is. We forget that heaven is our goal, that God is supposed to be our focus and everything. And too many things come into the world, and the devil works through that, trying to get us unfocused and busy on other things. And I think that us as Christians have learned that we don't have a lot of spare time on our hands. So now we understand that just how important it is that our relationship with God is the most important. And I put, these can all deter us, and when it does, we have to refocus. So, like I was talking about earlier, I see lots of squirrels, and I get to be really random and everything, so I have to be all about the refocus. The Apostle Paul is the author of much of the New Testament and one of the leading founders of the early church. Before he was a follower of Christ, Paul was famous for abusing and harassing Christians. After his conversion on the road to Damascus in Acts 8, Paul's life didn't get any easier. Instead, he faced many challenges and obstacles that would naturally stir all kinds of worries. Noah Basic. So we're going to be in 2 Corinthians 11, if you want to turn with me. 2 Corinthians 11, and I'm going to be in verses 24 and 28. 2 Corinthians 11, 24 through 28. All right. Hi, Braxton, his sweet boy. All right. 5 times I received at the hands of the Jews the 40 lashes less one. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. At night and day I was adrift at sea. On frequent journeys, in danger from rivers, danger from robbers, danger from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, lots and lots of danger. That's a lot of worrying. Danger at sea, danger from false brothers, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, and hunger and thirst, often without food, in cold and exposure. And apart from other things, these are the daily pressure of me and my anxiety for all the churches. Hi, Ryan. So it wants us to list all of the things that Paul faced. So, here we go. The 40 lashes minus 1, beaten with rods, stoned, shipwrecked, danger. I just did like a whole line with the danger. Rivers, robbers, people, Gentiles, city, wilderness, sea, false brothers. All of those were the danger ones. Sleepless night, hunger and thirst, exposure, daily pressure from the church. Now, it asked us which of these situations would cause you the most worry. And I want to be funny and say hunger and thirst because I like to eat. But the very first thing I thought of was the 40 lashes minus 1. I mean, believe me, there's none of those I really want to sign up for and everything. Hi, Betty and Whitney. None of those things I really want to sign up for, but I definitely don't want to get the 40 lashes minus 1 and everything. So that would definitely not be my choice. And I don't know if y'all chose something different and everything with all of those things that Paul went through. But none of them are good. And definitely all of those things would have me worried, definitely. And in a lot of pain. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. We were in 2 Corinthians and we're going to continue in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. 2 Corinthians chapter 1. Yes, Sherry Huffine said, Paul's worries were legit. Make mine look very silly. That's a really good point that you bring that up, Sherry, because that's exactly what I thought. I thought, all right, so all this quarantine business and me sitting around eating chips and eating ice cream, that's definitely not as much of a worry and concern, definitely. Thank you for that. So chapter 1, 8 through 10. For we do not want you to be unaware, brothers, of the affliction we experienced in Asia. For we were so utterly burdened beyond our strength that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt that we had received the sentence of death, but that was to make us rely not on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. He delivered us from such a deadly peril, and he will deliver us. On him we have set our hope that he will deliver us again. So it says, what is the secret that helped Paul through difficult times of distress? And, the theme, it seems, especially with this, not just determination, but prayer. How we can focus our prayer, like whenever we are worried and we are concerned, it's kind of consuming us and everything, that we can give everything to God, that we can pray and really tell him, please take this away. It's bigger than me. I really can't handle it on my own and everything. And he wants us to do that. And he has the power to take that away. I mean, I really hope that y'all understand that all this worry and a lot of things that we are worried about right now, quarantine, not being able to go out, COVID-19, we have 2 confirmed cases in Rich. But you know what? Whenever I heard about that, I thought, I definitely pray for the families that are affected by that. But it just gave me more resolve that God's going to take care of us, and he's going to take care of those people that are afflicted by that. So, of course, Paul, I put what they were experiencing seemed unbearable, but that made them rely even more on God. So all the things that we go through right now, which I feel like Paul went through way more than we are going through right now, not to downplay what we are going through, but I think that it shows us that God's going to help you. You ask and you put your hope and trust and put everything into God and what he's going to do for you. He is going to help you. If you keep your worry in and your anxiety in, and I'm going to be honest with you, no matter if we're, Rich, Texas, Amarillo, whatever, if they get consumed by COVID-19, what can you do? I really want you to ask yourself that, like, what can we do physically aside from making sure we're following the guidelines and keeping each other safe, wearing those masks whenever we're going out and different things like that. There's really not more than we can do. And the best thing that you can do is give it over to God, because it's going to consume you and it's going to be where there's no hope and you don't want to get there. So so the tougher things get, and I kind of, listed a few of the things that are going on now. People are losing their jobs, unable to go and actually be at their job, different things like that. We should be clinging even more to God and putting all of our trust in him. And I put, Lord, take control in all situations. All right, worry isn't a stranger to even the most renowned followers of God. Scripture's Hall of Fame, cute play on words, in Hebrews 11, describes people who faced great fears, worry, and doubt. Instead of succumbing to their situations, they chose to trust in God. So, this reading is from Hebrews 11. If you want to turn there, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's going to kind of synopsize what we're talking about. But I definitely encourage you to read it. Hebrews 11, and it's going to be verses 1 through 11. And it asks me in the space below, make a list of each of the people listed and how they chose to act in faith rather than fear. So the ones that they were listing, Abel offered a sacrifice. It was greater than Cain. Enoch did not see death because of his faith. Noah, most of us know that story where Noah was asked to build a big ark, and everybody's making fun of him, and what are you doing? There's no need for this, and everything like that. And of course, there came a flood, and Abraham, in his, or there is talking about like the land of promise and everything, but of course we know Abraham was willing to sacrifice his own son because he had full faith in God. And of course, God prevented him from doing that because he knew he had full faith in God. That one always speaks to me, because especially if you have kids, even if you don't have kids, you know that you can see and recognize how difficult that would be. But I just really couldn't imagine, Gunnar or Brooklyn and me having to sacrifice one of them and everything. But you know what? Abraham did it, and he was in full faith with God, and obviously, it worked out good. So Sarah and her her being older and being past kind of being able to conceive and everything, she conceived at an older age and everything. And if you've ever struggled with pregnancy and everything like that, I'm sure that you could really understand her trials and tribulations. But woo-wee, I couldn't imagine being that age and being pregnant. But wow, God is really good. It asked us to choose, I think it was choose one, which is the most inspiring to you and why. It was really difficult for me to just really focus on one. I think the ones that I really thought were really spoke to me were Noah and Abraham, because I like to know that people like me and that I'm doing okay and everything, and it would be really hard for me to be mocked about and told, oh my goodness, you're an idiot, what are you talking about, and everything. And so that would be really hard to be staying the course and okay, no, but God says I got to do this and everything. And Abraham sacrificing his son, I think that always kind of brings chills, and just really kind of helps me kind of humble myself that, he really did have full faith in God and knew that God was going to take care of him and, of course, his son. So in Hebrews, in this one, we're still in Hebrews 11. So we're reflecting on that passage, what I was just talking about, a few of the stories, like Sarah and Abraham and Noah. It says, what is the difference between a life that is marked by worry and fear and one that is marked by faith? In the space below, write a prayer asking God to help you live like the passage described. And so obviously, if you have fear and worry, you're not with God, because you cannot worry and love God. That's something that we have seen in the scriptures here, that, we talk about if there's a difference between concern and worry, and I do believe that you can have concern, but there's a fine line between concern and worry and everything. And so proving that when you have God first and foremost, that you will reap rewards with God, but if you don't, you're going to weep and have no hope and be able to worry. And that doesn't sound like fun to me. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like fun to me. So I would rather try to refocus and make sure that I'm having my hope and trust in God, rather than having that worry and fear consume me, which is really easy to do. If you're following along with me in the book, we're on page 70 and on number 8. If you're not, you're just still rocking along with us. What can you do during the next week to be intentional in turning your worries into prayer? And if you want to, hey, Vicki, if you want to, you can comment underneath and see if you want to put down some things that you think would be really good to help you with intentional prayer. Because obviously it's just me putting in my 2 cents, and I'd rather have a lot more cents come in than just mine. So while I'm talking, if you want to comment with some things that you came up with, I'll tell you what I came up with and everything. It says, when I begin to worry, immediately I try to go to God in prayer. Just if it's even just a quick, just me thinking about it and everything. And I do have a long prayer list of something that I pray for every day, where it's family, friends, our church, the church and everything like that. I do that every day, but if there's something that I immediately have a concern with, I want to go directly to Him so He can help me. And if I make it a practice, when worry starts to try to creep in, I can ask God, and God can kind of kick it to the curb, which is wonderful, and that's what He's wanting us to do. He's wanting us to have that direct line with Him. And when we keep up this practice, we should worry less because we are putting our whole faith in God. And so I think that during this time, I think that what's funny is that something that I really thought that I would be stressed out, and we're in quarantine, I can't teach, and during this time I really was concerned because I'm a natural worrier. My Aunt Vicky being on here, she knows as well as I do that we definitely come from a family of worriers. It's not that we don't have faith, it's a natural human instinct and everything, but it is something that I think that we always try to work on and everything. My sweet Bappa, which was one of the most Christian-minded men I ever met, and one of the biggest influences of my life, was probably, we always joked around, and I know that he had a lot more faults and everything, but, you can't tell me any different. But we always joked around that, the only sin he ever committed was worrying too much because he worried about his grandkids, his kids. If you were ever on the road, Papa was praying for you and worrying about you and everything. And so, anyways, I think that us being able to, especially during this time, to be able to reflect and really see what is important, I really feel like has done me good and my family good to really be able to refocus. And of course, that's what it really talks about in this lesson, is refocusing our life and focusing it on what is more important. Because like I said earlier, there's literally nothing we can do. We can try to encourage people and educate people and try our best to, minister to others during this time and everything. But you know what? Who is in the ultimate control is God. And I'm a firm believer that if God wanted to get rid of COVID-19, He could do it today if He wanted to. But that hasn't happened yet. And so we still have to stay the course, and we still have to really refocus, even whenever those doubts creep in, like, oh, now we've got 2 confirmed cases in Fridge and everything like that. But during this time, I feel like I've had more peace, and I felt like I hope at least that I've been a lot more positive in my approach with all of this. And it's not that I'm not naive to really what's going on out there. I just really do believe that God has a plan, and God is the one that has control. And I'm thankful for that, because if I was in control, we'd all be in trouble and everything. And so I get great encouragement and even more strength in knowing that when I put my hope and faith in God and I don't do any worrying, I can put that to Him and He takes that away. And there's nobody else that can do that for you but God. Did I get kind of preachy there? Sorry. I hope I don't. I really do hope that I encourage more than anything. I really do. And everything. I try to say what's on my heart, and I feel like God tries to put it on my heart to deliver it. So I really hope that that's the case. So we're going to be kind of finishing up here and everything, and we're going to be in Matthew. It's the first book in the New Testament. Matthew. Oh, no, not Malachi. Not in the Old Testament. Matthew 26. And we're going to be in verse 37 through 39. Matthew 26, 37 through 39. And I'll go ahead and read that. And then I'm going to discuss a few of the questions that it has for us here. And then I'm going to deliver you a challenge. Yay! You get homework at the end of this. Okay. 37 through 39. And taking him, Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as your will be done. All right. So it says, what did Jesus decide to do in the face of his greatest trial? So we see a trend here and kind of a pattern throughout this that, these people asked for prayer. They had a direct line to God in prayer, and they understood that they needed him. And Jesus, of course, modeled this for us first and foremost, that he prayed to him. He said, if you'll let this pass, let it pass. But it's your will, not my will. And I think that this is it's kind of an example, but of course, I think about it a lot of times. If I pray for something I really want to happen and everything, and I pray it and I'm willing it and I'm hoping he's really going to do it and everything, and he may or may not do it and everything, and of course it's for our own, for our own good. And everything, but that's kind of what I think about whenever I hear about this, that he wasn't being selfish, but whenever I pray like that, I'm being selfish. I may not do it with a fervent heart or maybe hidden agendas or whatever, but of course Jesus didn't do that. So Jesus went to God in prayer. He wanted God's will to be done, not his. And it says, how did Jesus determine to trust in the midst of his situation? So it says, giving yourself over, or I'm saying this is me talking, sorry. I'm just reading what I wrote. Giving yourself over in prayer is telling God not only to do that you have a relationship with him, but you cannot live without his guidance and strength. Just like any good relationship, communication is key. The more you talk, the better and more deeper the relationship will be. Prayer is our direct line to God. Do not take your prayer life for granted. And I put that down there, not just to say to you, but to say to me. I think sometimes that, prayer can tend to be a little robotic, especially, if you're kind of praying for the same thing every day, that I really try my best to try to mix things up, and because I really want to be thoughtful whenever I'm praying to God, because you're supposed to be fervent in prayer and everything like that, and not really taking it for granted. You're kind of, flippantly asking for something, but really being able to understand that that's a relationship and he's listening to you. Whether you think it or not, he really is listening, and he listens to your heart. Even if you're praying for something and you really kind of have maybe something hidden in there, he hears that too. And everything, as much as you want to not think that and everything, he does. But communication is key. Just if you're in a really close friendship, if you're in a marriage, if you stop talking and having a relationship with each other, it's not going to be very strong, and you're not going to want to spend a lot of time together, and it's not going to strengthen your bond. And that's exactly what it is with prayer life. But our relationship with God should be number one. So just as much as we work on our marriage, as we work on friendships and other relationships and everything like that, God, we should be working on that first. We get that right first, everything else will fall in line and everything. So thank you, Erica. Erica told me not to worry because I was doing great, because I was telling you I was kind of getting preachy earlier. Anyways, that wraps up our study for tonight on overcoming worry. I really pray and hope that anytime that you hop on here and watch me, whether it be live or later on and everything, that I'll be an encouragement to you. And, something that I feel like has been my mantra, and I feel like I need to tell y'all, my dad, Morris Timmons, some of y'all know him, and everything. There's so many times, my dad's one of the funniest people I know. He doesn't mean to be funny, but he is. But he is a lot of wisdom. He really does, and he would be spanking my bottom for the first time ever if he heard me going on and on about him. But, I've had many talks about Scripture and what the Bible is saying and everything like that. And there's so many times that, I get discouraged and this isn't happening and I wish we could do this and everything like that. Just different things, whether it be church or whether it be at my job or something. And he likes to always tell me, bloom where you're planted. And you've probably seen that a lot and everything. That's become really my mantra, especially during this time, that really whenever we're planted, we're really planted. I feel like that it spoke to me even more, and I hope that it's an encouragement to you that wherever you're planted, bloom. Do pray, reach out to people. If you know someone's struggling, reach out to them. Let people know that you love them and you've been inspired by them and everything like that. So the hashtag bloom where you're planted. It's great advice. And I promised you at the end that I was going to give you a challenge. And of course, I'm going to be doing this challenge as well and working on it this week. I want you to at least pick 5 people. Now, I encourage you to do more. I'm definitely going to do a few more. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I want you to either call or write a letter. Now, anybody can text. We all know we like to have text ever so often, which is great, but I think that we can all agree that getting a letter in the mail is just that much more special, and it just doesn't happen a lot anymore. One of my kinders, I'd sent out letters to my kinders a few weeks ago, and I got a letter back from one of my kinders, and my goodness, you thought I'd won $100 and everything, because it encouraged me so much just to feel that piece of paper and know that he took time to write to me and tell me that he missed me and he loved me, and that just really went all over me. And so I challenge you to at least pick 5 people to either call or write a letter. I think writing a letter would be really cool, just because not many people do it anymore and everything. But 2 options, 5 people, and it can be family, friends, whoever, that's someone that's inspired you, that during this time has got you through, and what are the ways that they've got you through. Just some encouragement. And like I said, you don't have to write a novel or anything, but just a few words to let them know how much you mean to them and everything. And those kind of things I keep for a lifetime. I don't know about you, but gifts are great and everything, but man, cards and people actually writing how they feel. You talk about, I can look back on those and get encouraged all the time. So I challenge you to do that. 5 people at least. And hopefully we can spread some encouragement. I pray that you were encouraged tonight. I love you all. I'm praying for you all. If there's any more that we can do or the church can do for you, we're definitely here for you during this time, whatever you need. Love you, and y'all have a great evening. Hey, babe. Why does it always tell me that it failed?